Okay, so we're going to do a really simple word animation. And don't worry if you've never done animation, it's a lot easier than it seems, and you will be addicted to it. I might have said this in the other video. That's okay. Alright, so first things first, I have my blank canvas, 3000 by 3000 pixels, 300 dpi. Just a note, if you're going to do really crazy, like really intense animations, you're probably going to want to make your canvas smaller, but for what we're doing, this size is perfectly fine. Okay, so I'm going to go to the wrench and I'm going to add your text. The shorter the word, the easier it will be for you to do your animations, just time-wise. The more letters you have, the longer it'll take. So I'm going to do a fairly long one because when I do an animation, I want to be able to use it in my videos. So I'll do summer school. Hashtag summer school. Of course, right? And just to note, the font that I'm using is Arial Rounded MT Bold. And the reason why I use that font is because it's just a nice round regular font. So when I use, for example, Butterblade, most of our brushes are round. So let me just move this blank layer above. So the brush is pretty round itself. So it's a good match. It's a good match for tracing it over. It just makes it that much easier when the brush is around the same size as the letters are. So this is going to be our base. So I'm going to duplicate it. And then on the bottom one, I'm just going to lock it and then put it away. So now we have our base here. And we're just going to make layers above. So the next thing that we want to do is, we'll go to the wrench, go to Canvas, Animation Assist. So essentially when you're using animation in Procreate, one layer equals one frame. And the frames start from the bottom up. So if you hit play, it's going to go from this layer to this layer to this layer and on up. And that's going to be like if you were turning a page, it would be the first page, second page, third page. It just starts from the bottom up. If a layer is minimized like this, then it doesn't show up in the animation. So right now, all I have is our text. And then if I tap this layer, because we only have two open layers, you can see that it's sort of dimmed a little bit. And that's what you call an onion skin. So that's just so I can see the layer that's underneath. That's all that is. So this is just seeing through this blank layer to kind of see what's underneath. That way I can trace it on the new layer. So your text should look like this. You should have two layers here. So now I'm just going to go to Butterblade and I'm just going to start tracing. Okay, so that was the first trace. So now we have our initial text, and then we have a layer above. So you're just going to just redo that maybe 4 or 5 times. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the plus, and as you can see, the last trace that I did is now the one that's dim, so I could trace above that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the one below so I can just trace the initial one. So I'm just going to complete that. I'm going to trace this again, then I'm going to add another layer, and I'll hide the one that I just did, and I will trace from the original summer school the rest maybe 2 or 3 more times. So I'm probably going to speed this up. And if you're wondering what I just did there with the brush, all I did was I duplicated it, so Butterblade 1, and I turned the streamline all the way up. That way it's just not as shaky, the lines will be more straight. Just always remember there's other options, there's other little tools that can make your life easier like that. I just duplicated it and turned the streamline up, and that should make everything go a little bit faster. right, we're good. We're good. Okay, so now you can unhide all of your layers, and you should have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 5 frames. You can actually hit play, and you'll see that it's a little, it just looks like a little alive little animation. Now you can hit settings. You can slow it down a little bit, or you can speed it up. 13 looks pretty good. Okay, so this all looks really good now. And that's pretty much it. You can add like little like dash marks over it. That might be kind of cool. But if you're going to do that, then let's see. I'm going to rasterize our original text layer. So if you wanted to, let's use a thicker brush, or let's make this brush thicker. I'm going to go back to the brush that doesn't have all the streamlines. So I'll just delete that new brush that I made and go back to the old brush. I'm going to move up a layer. On that layer, I'm going to make the notches a little bit higher. And then I'm going to do the next layer and make the notches a little bit higher. And on the next layer, I'm going to make them higher and smaller. And I'm also going to make it about half the size of the bottom one. Now this is all, you can experiment with this, and you'll see exactly what I'm doing once we hit play. So now I'm just going to make the bottom one a little bit bigger for that last frame. So then when it goes back to the first one, it should repeat. So now you can go down here and hit play, and you have something like this. I'm going to go back to the first one and just add another little pop here, because it just feels like a little lopsided. So I'm going to add a little something here, and I'm just going to move up, and I'll just do the same thing. I'll just add these little pops. I'll move up a layer. Like that. And you can experiment, you can do lines going around. You can once you kind of get the hang of just doing these little simple 4 or 5 frame animations, then you'll be able to do a lot. So I think that looks pretty interesting. It's not too big. It doesn't really need to be too big. And if I want this to be, if I want to put it for a video, so what I'm going to do is change the background color to something darker. And I'm going to change the colors of all of these to white. So we could have did that. We could have done that in the beginning, but that's okay. So I'm just going to use hue saturation and change all of these to white. So just tap on each layer, adjustment, hue saturation, layer white. You'll use that a lot in your Procreate journey. Okay, and now we have it in white. And you can do any word, you can do anything, you can make anything just sort of have a little bit more pop to it by just doing these little simple animations. And to export, I'm just going to minimize the background color and share, and then these all come into play. So you can do animated GIF, animated PNG, animated MP4. I usually export to my computer and use them on videos, and animated PNG usually works well for me. Okay, so when I was editing the videos, it seemed I was coming across an issue where the exporting was getting a little confusing, even for me. So I just wanted to break that down a little bit. So right now we have 5 layers here. So I'm just going to rename them 1 through 5. So now we have our 5 layers that are visible, which means we have 5 frames here. And the reason why this is important, when I export to PNG. I believe it's just a higher quality because I only use it to animate in iMovie. But for you, it's probably simpler, more simple. I don't know what the right grammatical term is. You can use animated GIF, and that will repeat automatically, like it will loop. So if you share this to your phone and you open it on your phone, it will loop. But one thing that you have to note is usually on your phone or on whatever application, it won't show a transparent background. It'll show a white background. So since this is white, it will be kind of difficult to see. It might just look like a blank box, but it's just because it's white on white. So one thing that you can do to make your animation longer, regardless of how you're sharing it, is you can duplicate all of these layers. So you would have to duplicate one and then drag that layer on top and do the same thing here. Duplicate 3, and just so it reads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then starts over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll duplicate 4 and I'll duplicate 5. So now instead of 5 layers, we have 10 layers. And it's just going to be the same thing. It's just exactly the same thing. We've just duplicated it. So it will look the same as we animated it. It's just when you export it, it will play this longer sequence. Instead of just playing a half a second, it's going to play a second. But it's still going to look the same. Now for me, since I use iMovie, when I export the PNG, the file is only going to be however many frames this is. So if I export this, it's only going to be like 1 second worth. But if I'm doing it on a video, I really want it to loop. Like I really want it to just play for maybe a few seconds at the least. So there's another way that you can copy and paste all of these layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight all of these. I'm going to hit group. So now these are all together in a group. And also, just as a side note, an animation won't work in a group since I put these all in a group. So now it won't play because it reads the group as only 1 frame. So just something to be aware of. You can't use it won't animate if everything's in a group. But I can duplicate this group, and then what I can do is I can highlight all of the ones in the original group, and then I'll just grab all of them and just drop it right over the group. So essentially just taking it out of the group, and I'll just delete that group. So it takes some time, and this is one of the things that takes a lot of time, but it's a little bit faster than copying everything one by one. I'll just delete this group too. So now we have about 2 seconds worth, which is a little bit better. Maybe it's like a second and a half, but it's easier for me since I'm using this in editing. It's easier for me now. I can repeat this 3 times, and it'll be a much longer animation rather than doing it for a half a second and having to put 20 of them back to back. So hopefully that makes sense. That might be a little confusing, but just animate as a regular GIF and you should be fine. But I just wanted to sort of clear that up, even though it gets a little bit more technical because of what I'm using it for. Hopefully I did a decent job in explaining why I exported to PNG and why it's probably a better idea for you to export as just a regular GIF. Maybe I should have just exported it as a GIF and kept it even more simple. But I'm complicated. I'm working on it, but I'm complicated. All right, back to the video. So here it is. It just gives you a little preview of it. And I'm just going to export. And then I'll save it. And then I will add it to the screen. Let me go back to my regular background color. So I'll add my background color. I'll hide these. And now we have our hashtag summer school. All right, hope you guys like that. Just mess around with the animation function. It's really fun. And once you have those little simple animations, you'll be able to do a lot of things. You'll be able to make little buttons, just make your videos or make your little GIFs, just make everything more exciting with animation. I also have a Skillshare animation class. You can sign up now and you'll actually get 1 month free. So you can do that class and all of my 10 other classes for free. You can do other people's classes. You have 1 month free. Definitely check out Skillshare. It's more of a slow, structured tutorial system, and I have a lot of fun making videos for Skillshare. All right, so as always, keep drawing, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, welcome back. Then I'll be looking forward to seeing your animations. So yeah, we're just gonna do a little quick, simple animations that. All right, so on to okay. All right, so that's enough yapping. What can they download? So once again, thank you so much for not stopping by. And thank you so much for taking the class. I'm really excited to get started with animation. Hey guys, if you're looking for more in-depth tutorials, then definitely check out my Skillshare courses. You can use my link and get 2 weeks for free, and there's actually a promotion going on right now where you can get 1 month free of Skillshare. So you can take all of my classes for free. So yeah, take advantage of that.